Hey everyone, it is great to see you all here again. Today, I want to talk about something very close to my heart, something that taught me some of the hardest lessons in life. I am talking about investment, or more accurately, my early investment blunders. You see, when I was in my early 20s, I was just like many of you, eager to make money, perhaps a little too eager. I grew up in a very ordinary family, nothing special, so the idea of getting rich quick was incredibly appealing to me. I heard stories, saw some flashy advertisements, and honestly, I thought I had found the secret shortcut to wealth. I remember this one time vividly. I was scrolling through some online forums, seeing people talk about these incredible returns, 5% a day, 10% a week. It sounded like magic, like a dream come true for someone who was tired of just getting by. I did not understand the logic, did not bother to research the fundamentals. All I saw were big numbers and the promise of a better life. So I jumped in head first with almost every penny I had saved up. It was a classic case of chasing after high yields, believing that more risk simply meant more reward. I did not realize it then, but I was setting myself up for a huge fall. Another time, I got really into short-term trading. Everyone around me was talking about the next hot stock, the next big thing. I would hear a tip from a friend of a friend or some random online guru, and I would just dive in. I would buy something because it was going up, hoping it would keep climbing, and then I would panic sell as soon as it started dipping. This cycle of chasing gains and cutting losses based purely on emotion was brutal. I was constantly glued to my screen, feeling high when things went up and absolutely devastated when they went down. My sleep schedule was a mess. My stress levels were through the roof, and my bank account, well, it was bleeding. I was literally buying high and selling low, the exact opposite of what you were supposed to do. It was a painful education in market volatility and the dangers of emotional trading. And then there were the scams. Oh, the scams. I was so desperate to make up for my losses that I became vulnerable to all sorts of shady schemes. I remember one particularly convincing project that promised guaranteed returns if I just put in a substantial amount. They had fancy websites, testimonials, and even some official-looking documents. I convinced myself that this was different, that this was the real deal. I ignored all the red flags, the lack of transparency, the pressure to invest more and more. I convinced myself that I was being smart, that I was finally finding my way. But of course, it was all an elaborate facade. The money, my hard-earned savings, vanished overnight. It was a crushing blow, not just financially, but emotionally. It made me feel foolish, naive, and completely defeated. My biggest mistake, perhaps, was not understanding risk management. I would put all my eggs in one basket, often using leverage, thinking it would amplify my gains. I thought I was being brave, taking calculated risks, but in reality I was being reckless. I did not diversify, did not set stop losses, did not have an exit strategy. I was essentially gambling, hoping for the best, and when the market turned, as it always does, I was completely exposed. The losses were devastating. I lost a significant portion of my savings I had worked incredibly hard for. It was a wake-up call, a very loud and very painful one. After all these experiences, after losing what felt like everything, I hit rock bottom. I was frustrated, angry, and incredibly disheartened. But something shifted within me. I realized that I could not keep going down this path. I needed to learn, truly learn about money, about investing, about how to build wealth sustainably. I started reading books, watching educational videos, and following reputable financial advisors. I devoured information, trying to understand the principles of sound investing, the importance of long-term thinking, and the power of compounding. I started with the basics, understanding what a diversified portfolio really means, why low-cost index funds are often a better choice for beginners than trying to pick individual stocks. I learned about dollar-cost averaging, about investing consistently over time, regardless of market fluctuations. I learned about the importance of an emergency fund, about having a buffer so you are not forced to sell your investments at a loss. I also focused on saving, really saving, and living below my means. It was not glamorous, but it was effective. This shift in mindset was transformative. I stopped looking for shortcuts and started focusing on building a solid financial foundation. I embraced a much more conservative approach to investing, prioritizing capital preservation and steady growth over quick gains. I realized that getting rich slowly is not just a saying, it is often the most reliable path to true wealth. Now, I am in a completely different place. I no longer chase trends or listen to unreliable sources. I invest based on solid research, a clear understanding of my risk tolerance, and a long-term perspective. My financial journey has been a bumpy one, filled with mistakes and hard lessons, but those lessons were invaluable, and that is why I am here, sharing my story with you. I do not want you to make the same mistakes I did. I want to help you navigate the world of finance with a clear head, a solid strategy, and a realistic expectation. Let me talk about some of the side hustles that are working for people right now, but through the lens of my past mistakes and newfound wisdom. First up, eBay reselling. This is something Kai Towers did, turning $400 into $317,000 in a year. When I heard about this, my initial thought was, is not eBay dead? But then I remember how I used to dismiss things without truly understanding them. My old self would have thought this was too slow, too much work for too little immediate gain. But Kaya's success shows that the riches are in the niches, He found success dominating the gaming accessory niche. Learning curve for eBay reselling. I would give this a 1 out of 5. It is relatively easy to learn the ropes. My old self would have been impatient, wanting immediate results. But now I understand that dedicating a month to learning a platform, really understanding it, is a small investment for a potentially big return. You do not need to reinvent the wheel, just find what is working in a specific corner and make it your own. Startup capital needed, a 1 out of 5. This is where my old self would have been shocked. You can start by selling items from around your house. My past self would have seen this as too small, too insignificant. But the beauty of it is that it is risk-free. It is a way to build a sales history, get positive feedback, and generate some initial capital without taking on huge debt or investing in unproven inventory. This is the kind of low-risk, gradual build-up that I now appreciate deeply. Earning $10,000 a month, I would give this a 2.5 out of 5. Kai showed it is possible to scale from selling unused items to generating 6 figures. My old self would have wanted instant millions, but the new me understands that consistent effort, constantly updating listings, and staying competitive are key. It is not about overnight success, it is about building a sustainable business over time. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme, it is a legitimate side hustle that requires dedication. Next, brand deal flipping. This is what Sue Hitamin did, starting at 16 years old while battling cancer, and now he makes over $4 million a year. My old self would have been drawn to the huge numbers and thought, how can I get a slice of that without putting in the work? But Sue Hit, story is about perseverance and understanding a changing landscape. He saw that brands needed influencers, and influencers needed deals, and he became the crucial bridge. This is about being a middleman, providing a valuable service that simplifies things for both parties. Learning curve for brand deal flipping, a 2 out of 5. It requires understanding both the creator world and the brand world. My old self might have dismissed this as too complex. But now I see the value in mastering these relationships. It is not just about connecting people, it is about managing expectations, negotiating, and adding value. Startup capital needed, a 0 out of 5. This is fascinating. Sue Hit started with just a laptop and time. My past self would have thought, where is the big investment, where is the flashy office? But the reality is, the most valuable assets here are your time, your connections, and your ability to build trust. He started by following creators on Instagram and reaching out. This is a testament to the power of consistent, focused effort, something I now preach, earning $10,000 a month, a 2 out of 5. The hardest part is getting people to trust you. Once that happens, it is very achievable. My old self would have focused solely on the $10,000 figure and ignored the trust-building aspect, but now I know that trust is the foundation of any successful venture. If you can facilitate deals, even just a few, the numbers can add up quickly and sustainably. Third, video editing. Tom Rass went from student debt to making $100,000 a year editing videos for big brands. My old self would have thought, I am not creative, I cannot do that. But Tom's story is not about being a creative genius from day one. It is about learning a valuable skill that is in high demand. Video content is everywhere, and businesses need people to make it look good and tell a story. Learning curve for video editing, a 3 out of 5. It takes time, but it is not impossible. My past self would have been intimidated by the technical aspects, but Tom's advice to master the basics, cutting, pacing, music, and storytelling, resonates deeply with my current understanding of skill acquisition. It is about focusing on what truly adds value, not just flashy effects. Startup capital needed, a 1 out of 5. All you really need is a decent laptop and internet connection. My old self would have thought I needed the latest, most expensive equipment, but Tom's example shows that you can start with what you have, learn the craft, and the upgrades will follow your income, not the other way around. This is a crucial lesson in smart resource allocation. Earning $10,000 a month, a 3 out of 5. It takes time to build a portfolio and attract higher-paying clients. My old self would have wanted to jump straight to the big clients, but the new me understands that starting with smaller jobs, like editing TikToks and Reels, is how you build experience and a strong portfolio. It is about laying the groundwork for future success, patiently and strategically. Next, branded dropshipping. Jimmy Barlow went from broke student to $40,000 profit a month. My old self might have heard dropshipping and thought, oh, that is a quick way to make money, but then ignored the details. My past experiences with trying to find easy money often led to disappointment. But branded dropshipping is different. It is about building a brand, not just selling products. Learning curve for branded dropshipping, a 4 out of 5. It takes time to get it off the ground, typically a few months. My old self would have given up after the first month if I was not profitable. But now I understand that building a business, even a side hustle, requires a commitment to the process. Month 1 is about setting up, month 2 is about optimizing, and month 3 is about growth. It is a long-term play, not a sprint. Startup capital needed, a 1 out of 5. The beauty of dropshipping is you do not pay for products until you make a sale. My old self would have worried about inventory costs, but this model significantly reduces that risk. It allows you to test products and niches without a huge upfront investment. This is smart, low-risk business building. Earning $10,000 a month, a 2 out of 5. It is much easier than most people think. $10,000 a month is about $333 a day. If each sale gives you $25 profit, that is only 13 to 14 sales a day. My old self would have thought you needed hundreds of sales, but the new me sees that with the right product, branding, and marketing. A handful of daily sales can add up significantly. It is about understanding the numbers and focusing on quality over sheer volume. Fifth, brand identity. Jack Watson went from a negative bank balance to $20,000 months in 6 months by focusing on brand identity. My old self would have thought this was too specialized, too artistic for me. But Jack's story shows that understanding how brands connect with people is a highly valuable skill. It is about helping businesses be recognized and trusted. Learning curve for brand identity, a 4 out of 5. It definitely takes time to develop this skill. My old self would have been impatient, wanting immediate mastery, but now I understand that every project is a learning experience. Once you truly grasp the nuances of creating a compelling brand identity, you can charge significant amounts for your work. It is a skill that compounds in value over time. Startup capital needed, a 1 out of 5. All you need is a laptop. My past self would have thought I needed expensive software or a design degree, but the real investment here is your time and your ability to learn and apply design principles. This is an excellent option for students or anyone with limited funds but plenty of dedication, earning $10,000 a month, a 2 out of 5. It is very achievable. Jack charges $10,000 for one project, even if you charge $2,500 for a package. That is only 4 clients a month. My old self would have thought I needed dozens of clients. But the new me understands that high-value services with fewer clients can be incredibly lucrative and less stressful. Sixth, short-form strategy. Noah Briley made over $100,000 before 18, just with his phone. My old self would have thought, oh, another social media trend, it will pass. But Noah's success shows that short-form content is not just a trend, it is the future of attention. He did not just consume content, he studied it, learned what makes it go viral. Learning curve for short-form content strategy, a 1 out of 5. The basics are easy to learn. My past self would have dismissed this as too superficial. But now I understand that analyzing and creating content daily helps you spot patterns that most people miss. It is about becoming an expert in capturing attention, which is a modern currency startup capital needed. A 1 out of 5. All you need is your phone. My old self would have thought I needed fancy cameras and equipment, but Noah's story proves that the most powerful tool you have is already in your pocket. It is about leveraging accessible technology to provide valuable services. Earning $10,000 a month, a 3 out of 5. It depends on how you charge. I love the idea of a flat fee plus a view bonus. My old self would have been scared to ask for a bonus. But now I see this as a smart way to align your incentives with your clients. If you can consistently make videos go viral, that $10,000 a month is very achievable. Finally, investing. This brings us to me. As you know, I started from nothing and built businesses that made me a millionaire in my 20s, but what really took me to the next level was investing. My investments currently bring in over $17,000 a week in passive income. My old self would have laughed at the idea of passive income, thinking it was a myth. But now, I truly believe investing is the one side hustle everyone should have. If your money is not working for you, you will always be working for it. People always ask me 2 things. When is the best time to start investing? My answer is always now. My old self would have made excuses saying I needed more money, more time, more knowledge, but today you can start with just a few taps on your phone, even with $1. The barriers to entry are so much lower than when I first started, and believe me, when I started, it was a headache with brokers and minimum deposits. The second question is how to start. This is where it gets more detailed, and it is why I have so many videos on my channel. And in the Wealth Portal, my old self would have tried to figure it all out alone, making costly mistakes. But now I advocate for learning from others, seeking out reliable information, and continuously educating yourself.